Welcome back to the Viking Update Show. Suddenly, this lost season is absolutely fascinating and pretty entertaining. I was in Dallas watching J.J. McCarthy dice up a bad team, and it was really the first game we've seen J.J. McCarthy not just succeed in winning a game, not just run the offense, but actually make big plays down the field and put up some real yardage and kind of run something closer to what O'Connell wants to see eventually. I thought it was a blast. I think McCarthy's personality is a blast. So we actually have something to watch here. This is the Viking Update Show. He's John Krawczynski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Souhan from Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. This is TalkNorth.com. We appreciate you watching or listening. We're doing the John Krawczynski Show, the Viking Update Show, and Randy Shaver's High School Football Show on YouTube, as well as via audio. You can find the audio at TalkNorth.com or just subscribe to your favorite podcast app. We do appreciate it. And we are coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
This holiday season, bring a little extra magic home with Aquarius Home Services, your authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Enjoy worry-free water that makes every moment shine, sparkling dishes, softer laundry, and refreshing worry-free drinking water. Right now, save up to 25% on a Connecticut whole home water treatment system. Schedule your free water analysis at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius in Connecticut, earning the right to be recommended.
We're also presented to you by OnX Hunt. We'll tell you more about our sponsors later. All right, John, I've written about it and talked about it. What was your takeaway after watching McCarthy's performance on Sunday night?
Yeah, I think you hit on it and got to the important point, was that this was another step in the progression for him, in that he was making big plays down the field, I guess, like regularly throughout the game, and not just in the 2-minute offense. And when you kind of just throw everything out and just play off of instinct. And so he was being successful within the normal game flow, early in the game, middle of the game, late of the game. And I just think that that is a good sign that there is some progress with him and Kevin O'Connell in getting on the same page in terms of executing the offense, and then Kevin O'Connell understanding what JJ McCarthy is capable of. And I think as this season winds down, what you want to see most is that from week to week, he just does a little bit more each week, and a little bit more and a little bit more. And I thought against Dallas, it was a little bit more, maybe even a lot more than what he did against Washington, and some really, really impressive throws. He looked to have more control of the offense and more comfort in it. And I think that's just a really promising development for the Vikings here.
I thought all the analysis about his mechanics, especially, in the bad times, that's when you analyze people's mechanics when things aren't working. I thought all the analysis of the mechanics was fascinating and accurate, and yet probably missed the greater point. And the greater point is, if your head is spinning, you're not going to have good mechanics. If you're trying too hard, you're not going to have good mechanics. You've talked to a million basketball players. I've talked to a million hitters. If you have the wrong thought in your head, your mechanics are not going to look good. And I thought Sunday night, we saw him throw touch passes. We saw him throw back shoulder. We saw him throw the anticipation, the touchdown to Naylor. Watch the replay of that. Naylor's not open. He's not open when he let the ball go. He threw it to a spot and had to be just the right spot. And I don't know what his mechanics were like, because nobody's going to analyze his mechanics when he just throws a touchdown pass. I'm sure they have more stuff to work on. I'm sure they're going to, that's what they do, right? They're professional football people. They're going to spend every minute they can improving their quarterback's mechanics. But I think what we saw on Sunday night is the mechanics stuff is overdone if he's thinking properly and not trying too hard. And really, maybe one of his worst throws of the night was Justin Jefferson open back left side of the end zone, and he just heats up and throws a 120-mile-an-hour fastball. And and again, you can analyze mechanics.
That Jefferson should have caught, probably.
Jefferson should have caught, but you could tell by Jefferson's body language and where his hands were when the ball was released. He just had he did not anticipate the ball coming that high and that hard. Receiver of his caliber should catch it. But once again, we could analyze McCarthy's mechanics there, but if he just takes 5 miles an hour off, it's a touchdown.
Yep. Yeah. I think, from watching it, and I'm certainly not, the QB guru that can break down every little thing about his mechanics and tell you what's right and what's not. What I can say is that there were still definitely some throws, even some of the good ones, where it's, he's kind of swinging his back leg forward, and he's doing some things that are like, hey, this is not the way a professional NFL quarterback generally throws the ball. But I do think that we are seeing him have more belief and confidence in himself and have more comfort with knowing where it has to go, so that he does mitigate that. And I actually look at something like that as another reason to be a little bit optimistic about where he can go, is because this was not a case of everything coming together for him and him being perfect mechanically, perfect, execution, understanding the scheme, and perfect with the throws. There's still a lot of room for him to improve, but he just needed this positive reinforcement, this winning to happen, to settle him down and to just be like, yes, I can do this. Yes, this is going to be okay. And now when you're trying to teach someone anything about, any athletic endeavor, if their head is on straight and they're feeling good about themselves, they're much more open to, constructive criticism, to, hey, let's try this. Hey, do this. And yeah, absolutely. Let's go. I want to keep getting better. And so I just think that it definitely makes it more conducive to learning and developing when you're having success in the middle of all of it. Because I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to say, hey, it's working for me, I'm just going to go this way and just do it my way. I think he still understands there's a long way to go. But the fact that he is able to kind of, to make these throws, to have this success while still working through some of the mechanical issues, I think it's just a big plus right now.
Ron Gardenhire took a lot of heat in this town for his catchphrases, one of which was, ask him how a player's doing or what he thinks. He's got a smile on his face. Well, it sounds inane. It sounds like kindergarten, right? And now what do we see in modern sports? Everybody wants their athletes to have a smile on their face. If you have a smile on your face, it means you're healthy. It means you feel good about what you're doing. It means you're not overthinking things. I always Joe Burrow with not a smile on his face, and he might destroy an entire franchise. And then you see McCarthy, you see him around the locker room, you see him joking with O'Connell, you see him performing a touchdown celebration that his coach told him not to perform, and ribbing his coach about it. And not only do I think those are good signs, it also makes me really like McCarthy. I liked McCarthy even in the bad times. I thought he tried to be a stand-up guy. And he was never the guy who's like, oh, this person over here has been ripping me. I'm going to be offended by it, or I'm going to snap back. I thought he handled himself with a lot of class in the bad times. And I think he's a lot of fun in the good times. And yes, everybody in the Vikings organization wants to win a Super Bowl. Every Viking fan wants to see the Super Bowl. But what this really is, what we really cover on a day-to-day basis, is an entertainment entity. And this has been really entertaining the last couple of weeks. Yeah, for sure. And McCarthy is definitely a vibes quarterback. Yeah. Like, let's juxtapose him with Sam Darnold. Like, Darnold is a more stoic guy, right? Like, yes, he had fun last year when things were going well. I think he was fairly stand up when it wasn't going well. He was very rarely going to be the emoter, the guy that you could just tell was absorbing all of that energy for good and bad. Maybe that's not necessarily the best thing for McCarthy, but I do think that he did really handle the bad times well, in terms of not turning bitter, not turning like, why is everyone saying this about me? Why are they on me kind of stuff? He just owned it and just like kind of marched forward. And now, yes, when the train is going in the right direction, you can just feel more of momentum with him, because he plays and feeds off of that emotion. And I do think that when things are going well, he's the kind of quarterback who can turn from a good quarterback to a really good quarterback when he just
feels good. And when he's in that rhythm and when there's positivity swirling around him. So, I do commend him for the way that he handled with, something that was kind of toxic, in the toughest moments of this season. And he just marched straight forward. And now he is kind of soaking up a little bit more, kind of the cheer and the adulation, and how he handles that is going to be just as important going forward, so that he can keep building on what's been happening the last couple of weeks.
Someone once described Darnold to me, a Vikings insider, as the guy who, if he was at a party with a bunch of other people, would be the guy sitting on the end of the couch, sipping his beer and just chuckling at the jokes and really not starting anything, Mm-hmm. And we're all amateur psychologists. When every sports writer, every sports fan is an amateur psychologist. And this is amateur psychology I'm about to present here. But you also wonder if Darnold didn't have that, that athletic arrogance gene that might have served him better in big games.
Yeah, maybe. And I mean, I'm watching the Seahawks lately. It hasn't been great, just from an offensive standpoint. So you have people wondering about that. It certainly seems like from the outside, I know that like the Vikings players loved Sam Darnold and, wanted him to do well and certainly believed in him and all of those things. But I think that they believed in him almost just because of the pure talent that he was displaying on a weekly basis. And that's a good reason to do it. But I think McCarthy is different in that eventually when you get to a point where he is in control of this offense, I think that people will believe in him because of the way that he conducts himself in the locker room as much as what he does on the field. And so that, I think, is a different element and a different leadership dynamic. McCarthy is going up and down the sideline and cheering, hyping up his teammates and dapping them up and in constant communication. And I do think that there is an earnestness about McCarthy that is relatable and sort of intoxicating. I think if you're in there with him, he wants it so badly. That he's in and he's trying everything he possibly can to do the right thing. And I think that does inspire things a little bit. The one thing I wonder about, Jim, is when did KOC become Bill Belichick with the act like you've been there before kind of stuff? Like what's that all about? That was surprising to me. Like, what are we doing here?
Stop it, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of over the top celebrations, but this wasn't really an over top celebration.
It wasn't over the top.
It was just kind of a fun little thing he did.
And it was a really bad gritty. He didn't even do the gritty. He kind of just like skipped into the end zone.
And he also didn't do it like when a defender was approaching, he was taking any risk. He was open by 30 yards, whatever. I actually kind of like the modern NFL celebrations. I used to hate it when somebody would score a touchdown and it'd be like, teammates, stay away from me while I do my halftime performance here. I always thought that was just horrible. I actually like the modern NFL celebration where they pull their teammates in and do something together. I like that. But this was not nothing. And it was really weird that Kevin should be designing dances for McCarthy.
Hey, Bynum's gone. Yes. So somebody's got to fill that void. So.
Yeah, and plus it means that you got to the end zone, which is a really good thing.
You should be in there with them. Yes.
All right, I want to talk about the quarterback matchup this weekend. Ryan Kelly, Christian Darrisaw, Jonathan Greenard, et cetera, et cetera. So much going on with this team, even as they're out of contention now. But first, want to thank one of our many sponsors, Minnesota State Lottery.
She's Jen, the ultimate Vikings fan.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the Vikings Jan Show Fan Show. My special guest today is Jared Allen. So, Jared, who you got for the Vikings game this week?
Minnesota Vikings.
Me too. So that's our show. We'd like to thank our sponsor, the Minnesota Lottery, who reminds you this could be your year. Play the new
Vikings
Scratch Game for a shot at $100,000, game tickets, and more. Minnesota Lottery. I'm in. Must be 18 or older to play.
Also, to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Onyx Hunt and Onyx Fish. Hey, it is ice fishing time now. Let Onyx Fish help you find the next best bite. The Fish app offers the most comprehensive fishing tool for increasing your success. Use the Fish app to find new places to fish and sort lakes by species, abundance, trophy, and keeper potential. Onyx Fish also shows you hot spots, lake by lake regulations, and private and public land ownership information. Download Onyx Fish in the App Store or go to onyxmaps.com/fish to get more information about the app that is changing the game. Also check out onyxmaps.com/hunt. So really fascinating quarterback matchup this weekend. Dart is he's kind of like a half step ahead of McCarthy here. He played well when he got in the lineup. He's really athletic. He's really talented. He makes big plays down the field. It's almost like he is exactly what they want McCarthy to be, except the Dart is a little less mature, I think. And Dart wants to go run headfirst into three linebackers and risk his brain and risk his status as the franchise quarterback, where McCarthy has figured that out. You know, the dive headfirst move that Harbaugh taught him is absolutely the right move. He tries to avoid big hits. He runs effectively without taking big hits. So Dart's farther ahead in terms of the way he's playing, but he's also more risky physically.
Yeah, it feels like there's similarities in terms of both of them, I think, want to operate at quarterback on a high wire. And, you know, they both want to take chances. They both want to do, you know, kind of make throws that are high degree of difficulty. I do, like you said, I think that Dart so far has shown a little bit more consistency with being able to make some of those plays and some of those throws than McCarthy has. But McCarthy certainly has a different kind of charisma to him. McCarthy's charisma is earnest, I want to be in this with you guys. This is the best thing in the world. Let's fight together. Dart is like, I'm leading you into battle and I'm going to show you that I'm about this because I'm going to try to run over a linebacker. And that's what's going to inspire you to follow me. And, you know, McCarthy's already had a couple of real injuries, in this league. Dart's been banged up some, but maybe it's going to take another major kind of thing for Dart to kind of change his approach in that way. But I do think that I really am looking forward to watching this game because it is two very young, very, high variance quarterbacks that are going to be exciting and try and make things happen. They're not going to be game managers. They're going to go out and try and make big plays. And that might result in big plays for them or the other team. I'm not sure, but, it's just a really interesting matchup of two styles that do have some differences, but there's also a lot of similarities because neither one is like also like neither one is a Josh Allen type physical specimen, but they both can wing it, man. And so, that's fun to watch.
You mentioned Josh Allen. It does strike me. One thing that I found fascinating all year, I can't get past it, is like when you're around the Vikings locker room, when people are, you know, standing around with shirts off, or even when you're standing next to somebody at an interview station or whatever, when you stand like next to Carson Wentz, or even Max Brosmer, in fact, more so Max Brosmer, you go, big, strong, raw-boned athlete. Brosmer looks like he just one of those guys that lives in the weight room. The guy's put together. And then I still can't get over the fact that whenever I'm within 20 feet of JJ McCarthy, I'm like, oh, whose son is hanging out in the locker room today? He is young.
Yeah.
He looks even younger than he is. And listen, he's very athletic. He had a great college career. We've seen he's made great runs in the NFL. There's a lot of athletic ability there, but he's not a big dude. He's just not.
No.
And I don't offer that as any kind of analysis. It just fascinates me that he's really a really good all-around athlete, but he is not, like you said, he's not Josh Allen in terms of size and strength.
No, he's wiry. He's like, yeah, he's certainly mobile. Like he can move around, and yeah, like his arm strength, he's got plenty of it. Yep. So those things are going for him. But when you look at, I always think back, Jim, the Carolina Panthers were here years ago, and I went into the Panther locker room and Cam Newton was there. And I mean, one of the biggest human beings like I've ever seen in a locker room full of enormous dudes. Like you looked at him and he stood head and shoulders above everyone. And so that was just like an awe-inspiring thing. Like, holy cow, like this dude is enormous. And yeah, and Carson Wentz is a big, big dude as well. And so, I saw him standing next to McCarthy on the sideline, and there was one of those where McCarthy was not in his pads, and he looked like me, like standing next to him, just because Wentz is like 6'5" and just enormous. So yeah, McCarthy is not Dart is not either, but neither one is the overwhelming physical presence. But I do think that there's certainly a pathway to him having, a great career in terms of just being able to move the pocket. If he can understand the layering of throws that need to happen and not just, fastballs, but mix in some changeups and things like that, that's going to be the key for him. And he can have plenty of success that way, but it is not the, prototype quarterback. He's a different kind of physical body makeup than a Josh Allen, than Carson Wentz, than a lot of those guys. And
I'm not offering these names in terms of any kind of comparison. JJ McCarthy still has a long way to go and a lot to prove, but just in terms of body type, two of the greatest athletes I ever covered were also two of the least impressive looking athletes I've ever covered. Joe Montana and Wayne Gretzky. If you were standing next to Joe Montana or Wayne Gretzky in a restaurant and didn't know who they were, you'd think they were just the guy who got off, the accountant who just got off his 9-to-5 shift and is coming in for happy hour. I mean, their physical tools are great. Size is great, but that's what I love about sports. All kinds of different bodies succeed. We used to walk in that old Twins locker room and you see Kent Herbeck with his beer belly and Kirby Puckett, and McDougie with his love handles, Puckett with his big round belly, and these guys, great baseball players. So you never know. Yeah.
And I'll say like one guy that I see a little bit with McCarthy, I see Rich Gannon, like, in terms of like Gannon, maybe a little bit bigger, but he was definitely, especially in his Vikings days when he was here, he was kind of a skinnier, move around, run around guy, and make throws that way. And so, that's kind of like the ilk that I see. I mean, I know you spent a little more time directly around him, but like, that's what it kind of just one guy that stands out to me of like, yeah, maybe a little bit more like that. Yeah.
I covered Rich, from the start. Really liked covering him. I thought he was a great guy. And loved the fact that he had such success late in his career. He was one of the hardest working athletes I've ever been around. And I think Rich probably isn't as tall as McCarthy. He was a little thicker though. I mean, when Rich took his shirt off, you knew you were with an athlete, whereas McCarthy, I think, still needs to like try creatine or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Let's talk about Ryan Kelly and the offensive line and what's going to happen with Greenard out here. We do want to thank Twill in the Edina Galleria, longtime sponsor of this show and TalkNorth.com. Scott Dayton. It's Twill by Scott Dayton in the Edina Galleria. This is just a great time to go out to the Edina Galleria, walk around in one of the best places you can Christmas shop or holiday shop, whatever your bent is. Great place to be. Beautiful shop, beautiful place to shop, and tell them we sent you. And if you walk in there, I don't know, doesn't matter who you are. There's some man in your life that would love to get something from Twill, whether it's casual, whether it's dressy, whether it's for next year's golf season, whether it's good shoes. There will be something. I know every time I walk in there, especially when I'm with my wife, I walk in there, my wife always buys something, even if I went in there just to say hello, she'll always buy something. There's always something that just pops. Great stuff for winter, great stuff for spring, great stuff for summer, golf, everything. Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. And here's Talk North star Michael Russo for Clamshell Beach Resorts.
Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota? Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a Clamshell Beach Resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819.
So we've all fixated on Darrisaw, and we'll talk about him a little bit because he's a great player and he's been in and out of the lineup and he hasn't always seemed real happy this year. And there's been a lot of smoke there. I think what we've discovered the last few weeks is just how good Ryan Kelly is when he's healthy and just how important he is when he's in the lineup. It's amazing how much better the pocket is when Ryan Kelly's healthy and playing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like that, I think that when we look at that signing, immediately, as soon as Kwesi Adofo-Mensah made it, you're like, yes, good. Like you get a big, strong dude in that spot that has moved people around for a long, long time, has had success at the position, a little bit, certainly more physicality, than a Garrett Bradbury would have or someone like that. And that's going to be helpful. The question always was, can he stay healthy? Like that's been, with the concussion history and things that he's dealt with before, you were just hoping that he could stay in the lineup. But when he is in the lineup, he makes an impact for sure. And I think that it's two ways. It's not just that he is a big physical dude that can maul you, that can really open up things in the running game and protect in the passing game. But I do think that also his presence as, for McCarthy as a dissector and a diagrammer of what is coming and how to adjust to it, how to adjust protections and things like that. Like he is a thinking man center for sure. And I mean, they all are, but like he certainly is really, really important in just the overall being some of the brains of the operation. And so when he is in that huddle, you just, I think, sense that group up front operates in a different speed and a different cohesiveness, all of that. And Ryan Kelly brings, the physical and the mental edges to that group that they are missing when he's not in there. And I hope that he's going to be okay with all of these concussions that he's having. Like that's what I worry about most for him for the long term. But when he is in that lineup, man, it does make a huge difference for what the Vikings are doing offensively.
I really thought when he had the last concussion that it might be time for him to retire.
Same.
Luckily, I might be wrong about that. I hope I'm wrong about that. Mm-hmm. We all talked to him after the game on Sunday night, and great guy, a lot of fun, loves McCarthy. You can tell he loves the game. He was all fired up. And yeah, if he stays healthy, he's going to be a big plus.
Yeah. And that's like, here, I get conflicted with this kind of stuff now, Jim, because, I see, we know all the research for concussions and for all of the things that might be hanging down the road for him. And so you just like, you worry about him and you hope that he's doing the right thing. But I think also where I've gotten to now is that unlike 15, 20 years ago, where players didn't really understand maybe what they were getting into and what the dangers were and all of these things, I think that there's just enough evidence and there's enough reporting and there's enough, testimonials about what is possible to happen for these guys down the road that, they're making more informed decisions than ever. And, he knows his body and he knows everything way better than I do. He also knows the potential consequences for sure. And so if he's going to make the decision to go out there and play and keep going, then, I just got to say, all right, go ahead. Good luck. And I'm hoping the best for you.
What are you thinking on Darrisaw? Because there are two possibilities with this story. One is it's just an injury that keeps bothering him. And when it bothers him, he can't play. Simple, right? The other story is there's some real conflict behind the scenes as to whether he should have played more or whether he should have, been pushed to play, whether the Vikings shouldn't have pushed him to play early, whether they should have let him rest and start the season when he was 100%, whether Darisaw is upset with the organization. These are things you can really only speculate about, but it's worth speculating about because he's their second best player.
Yeah. So I have not spoken to Darisaw's reps about this specifically on or off the record. So it is a little speculation on my part here, but I'm just reading the tea leaves. Yeah. And there's just nothing about this situation that looks like it is straightforward. Right. We have seen players deal with injuries plenty of times and aggravate them or have them crop up and things like that. But the nature of how this started at the start of the season, just like the ups and downs and the twists and turns that it's taken throughout the year, the questions that we seem to have about, is this going to be a game that he plays? Is this not? Is this going to be a quarter that he plays? Is he going to
practice?
Exactly. Like all of these things just seem to be indicating that there is some disconnect between the organization and the player in a way that is unique to, that goes above and beyond just a normal injury. And I don't know, maybe that can be resolved in the off season. Maybe there are things that can happen, to build the bridges that have come down. I don't know if it's all Darisaw's fault, if he's like having unrealistic expectations of the medical staff. I don't know if the medical staff has made huge mistakes and like return to play and all of those things. But something is wrong here. And that's just my feeling on it. This is not a case of a player trying to gut through injury and doing it. And it's just every once in a while it doesn't work and he needs a break. Like something else is going on here. And I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that it does cast some uncertainty into just an enormously important position for them and an incredible player for them. And so they've got to figure that out eventually, but it doesn't feel right to me right now.
And if there was nothing going on, if there were no negatives attached to the situation, Darisaw could simply just come out and say, you know what? Here's the deal. And they haven't pushed me. I'm just trying to get through the season. I mean, he has not done that, and he hasn't spoken much, if all this year. But players have very loud megaphones these days and they have a lot of outlets. He wouldn't have to do it with beat reporters. He could do it social media. He could have his agents put out. If there were nothing wrong and he wanted to clear the air, he could do so. And he has not done so. And because of that, we're almost forced to speculate on this stuff because he's so important.
Well, and just the way that it has all played out, Jim, like I don't remember another situation with the Vikings where, okay, we're starting this game. We think he's playing. Okay, he is. And then come the third or fourth quarter, nope, he's not playing anymore. And we didn't see any like instance of a defensive lineman falling into the knee or doing anything like that. It's just like, nope, he came out for, maintenance or whatever. That just doesn't happen in the NFL. And so, it just all speaks to a lack of understanding between the player and the team about what is realistic and what is going to happen on a week by week basis. And I do think it has happened. It happened. It was going on in training camp. It was going on in the preseason. It was going on at the start of the regular season, and it has not ever gotten resolved. And so, it's just, it's wholly unique. Like I was just last week, I was trying to like think about, have I ever covered the Vikings and seen a player go through the ins and the outs the way that he has? And it just, I'm lost for another example. And so that just tells me that something else is happening and that we could be headed for either a split or certainly like some kind of a confrontation in the offseason when you get down to it, because there's a good chance with the Viking salary cap situation, he's going to need to be asked to restructure his contract. And like, how is that going to go? And so, I think we're coming to a head here, and I don't know what the answer is and who's right and who's wrong. But something is definitely amiss.
Yes. Jonathan Greenard lost for the season. He was having, I'd say, an underrated season. He wasn't having a great season, but his pressure rate was really good. He wasn't getting the sacks he got last year. He also didn't always have the help he had last year. So, not a great year, not a bad year. At least that's my assessment of it. But now he's out, I think we need to see more from Dallas Turner. And Dallas had that nice stretch, a few weeks ago where he put a few games together and really looked impressive, and the stats reflected his activity. I thought I didn't see much of him on Sunday night. This is a chance, and really big picture here. If the Vikings can go into the offseason feeling really good about McCarthy and Dallas Turner, that is about as good a development you could have this season, other than going and winning playoff games. Yeah,
and like I think that one thing, while Greenard may have not been racking up the sacks like he normally does and making big plays that way, his overall presence certainly was a positive on that defensive line. And so for him to be gone, it is a big loss, even if he wasn't his most productive this season. But this could be a similar case to what the Timberwolves are going through right now. Mike Conley is on the shelf with some Achilles tendinopathy. And so they've just had to put Rob Dillingham in the game. And so for Dallas Turner, now it's like, hey, bud, we're out of the playoffs. There's nothing to lose. Greenard is out. We're going to put you out there and just play a ton of snaps and see what we see. See if he can build on that good stretch, a few weeks ago and start to make more consistent plays for them. But I think that this is a good opportunity in that way of like, just throw him out there and let him play a ton and see what happens, the good and the bad of it, and see if he learns from that. And, he was been sprinkled in with Greenard and Van Ginkel and a bunch of other bodies. Just get him out there and have him play a ton of snaps and get real evaluation on what you have there, because that is another spot where you're going to have to see, do we need to go get another pass rusher? Do we need to, is this, or can he develop to the point where, we feel good about going into next season and him being a big, big part of what we do defensively from a pressure standpoint? Yep.
Good stuff, John. I guess we might as well do a pick. These games aren't meaningless, but people are still going to watch them. Giants, Vikings in New Jersey in the Swamplands on Sunday. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the way the Vikings are playing right now. Especially, and it's not just McCarthy. Like, I really like the way the defense has played for the last month. I was certainly critical of that group earlier on in the season with not making big plays, with not being enough of a dominant unit to help a young quarterback while he was going through the learning process. Now you are seeing them play better. Part of it is because they're not on the field quite as much. And so that's helpful. But either way, it does seem like both offense and defense are working together better than they have maybe all season. And so, I'm going to take the Vikings 26-17, something like that. I think the defense is playing to a level they can turn the ball, get some turnovers and keep the Giants from doing a ton offensively. And Aaron Jones and McCarthy and JJ and all those guys can get in the end zone. And so this can be another win for them.
My prediction, this is the game that McCarthy finds Justin Jefferson regularly. The Vikings win 31-19 and continue the good vibes heading toward the offseason. If I'm wrong, we'll talk about why I was wrong next week. We appreciate you watching or listening. This is the Viking Update Show on TalkNorth.com. For John Krawczynski, for all of our producers and our staff at TalkNorth.com, we appreciate you watching, and we will talk to you soon.